The Murder of JonBenét Ramsey, a deep dive into one of America's most infamous unsolved cases. Welcome to Dead Ends and Red Herrings, where we unravel the world's most perplexing unsolved crimes. Today, we're diving into one of the most infamous, heartbreaking, and controversial cases in American history, the murder of JonBenét Ramsey. A 6-year-old beauty queen found murdered in her own home the day after Christmas. Was it an inside job? A botched police investigation? Or did an unknown intruder slip into the house undetected? Buckle up, because this one is as twisted as it gets. Who was JonBenét Ramsey? Before we get into the crime itself, let's talk about JonBenét. She was the 6-year-old daughter of John and Patsy Ramsey, a well-off couple living in Boulder, Colorado. JonBenét was known for her participation in child beauty pageants. She had the glitz, the dresses, the crowns, and the stage presence. But behind the sparkling tiaras was just a little girl growing up in a wealthy and influential household. Her father, John, was a successful businessman. Her mother, Patsy, was a former beauty queen herself. The family lived in an upscale neighborhood, and from the outside, they seemed to have it all. But within a few hours, on December 26, 1996, their picture-perfect life would come crashing down in ways no one could have imagined. The timeline of events. What really happened that night? December 25th, 1996, Christmas night. It was Christmas Day, and the Ramseys had spent the evening celebrating with friends. JonBenét went to bed around 9 p.m. Her parents say they followed shortly after. December 26th, 1996, the morning everything changed. 5:30 a.m., the ransom note. Patsy Ramsey woke up early and found a ransom note. A massive 2.5-page note on the staircase. It claimed that JonBenét had been kidnapped by a foreign faction and demanded a very specific amount of ransom. $118,000, which, oddly enough, was the exact amount of John Ramsey's Christmas bonus that year. 5:52 a.m., the 911 call. Patsy immediately called 911, reporting her daughter missing. Police arrived just a few minutes later, but here's where things start falling apart. They didn't secure the house properly. They allowed friends and family to enter, potentially contaminating the crime scene. And most crucially, they didn't search the entire house immediately. 1 p.m., the body is found. After hours of waiting, a detective suggested that John Ramsey check the house himself. That's when he and his friend, Fleet White, went into the basement and made a horrific discovery: JonBenét's lifeless body. She was covered with a white blanket. There was a nylon cord around her wrists and neck, duct tape over her mouth, and a paintbrush handle used as a garrote, a horrifying, calculated method of strangulation. In a panic, John picked up the body, which further contaminated the scene. The autopsy. What did the evidence show? JonBenét's autopsy revealed 2 major causes of death. 1. Strangulation by the garrote. 2. A skull fracture from a blunt force blow. There were also other eerie details. There were no clear signs of sexual assault, but there was evidence of prior vaginal trauma, leading to speculation about previous abuse. She had undigested pineapple in her stomach, but her parents insisted they hadn't fed her that night. However, there was a bowl of pineapple in the kitchen, and get this, Burke Ramsey's fingerprints were on it. That little detail would later fuel an explosive theory. Theories and suspects. Who killed JonBenét? Theory number 1, the intruder theory. Some believe an unknown intruder broke into the house that night. Evidence supporting this theory. A broken basement window? Was it an entry point? A boot print near the crime scene. It didn't match anyone in the house. Unidentified DNA on JonBenét's underwear. A major twist that later cleared the Ramsey family. But here's the problem. There was no obvious forced entry. So if someone did sneak in, how did they get inside without leaving more evidence? Theory number 2, the family did it. Patsy Ramsey, the accidental death theory. Some believe Patsy accidentally killed JonBenét, possibly in a moment of frustration over bedwetting. The ransom note? It was written inside the house, and handwriting experts found similarities to Patsy's writing. And don't forget that $118,000 ransom demand? The exact amount of John's bonus. Coincidence? Burke Ramsey, the sibling rage theory. Could JonBenét's own 9-year-old brother Burke have been responsible? Some theorists believe he may have struck her during an argument, and the parents covered it up. And then there's the 911 call. Analysts claim you can hear Burke's voice in the background, even though the parents said he was asleep. Theory number 3, the unknown pedophile. Some believe JonBenét was targeted by a predator. In 2006, a man named John Mark Carr confessed, but his DNA didn't match the evidence. There were also reports of a possible stalker, but nothing conclusive. Police mistakes that may have cost the case. The investigation was a disaster from day one. The crime scene was contaminated by multiple people walking in and out. The ransom note should have been analyzed immediately. The family was never separated for questioning, allowing them to coordinate their stories. And crucial DNA evidence sat untested for years. Recent developments. Could new DNA testing finally solve the case? In 2008, forensic experts cleared the Ramsey family when DNA found on JonBenét's clothing didn't match any of them. And in 2022, Boulder police announced they were using new DNA technology to re-examine the case. Could this be the breakthrough we've been waiting for? The big questions that remain. Why was the ransom note so long and detailed? If it was an intruder, why was there no clear evidence of forced entry? And what about the mysterious DNA? Was it from the real killer or just contamination? Final thoughts. Will we ever know the truth? More than 25 years later, JonBenét Ramsey's murder remains one of America's most chilling mysteries. New forensic technology might eventually crack the case, but until then, we're left with more questions than answers. So what do you think? Was this a case of an intruder slipping in undetected? A tragic accident covered up by a desperate family? Or something even darker? Let us know your theories and stay tuned for more deep dives into the world's most baffling crimes, right here on Dead Ends and Red Herrings. Until next time, stay curious, stay skeptical, and don't believe everything you read in a ransom note.